Okay, so we're going to share a few more thoughts on both the project and the film, and some of the work that Stay Home Stories have been making that very much relates to some of the things that we've covered in the film and the book. So, I'm Teresa, a long time collaborator with Praxis from the V&A Museum down the road, but the facilitator and artist on the textile project. And this is Kemi.
Hi everyone, my name is Kemi. I'm a member of Wings and also one of those that participated in the project.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming today and seeing our video. And I'm also in Praxis group Wings, they're working with Teresa. And my name is Sammi. Okay, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Rashida. I am a member of Wings. I'm part of the textiles making. I'm part of the... That was my voice banging, yeah. My face wasn't showing, sorry. You're welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Annabel. I work on the Stay Home Stories project, and I and others have been doing interviews with people about their experiences of lockdown and being at home during COVID.
Hi everybody, I'm Alison. I'm also on the Stay Home Stories project from MIrri, and it was wonderful to be here today. Lovely to see everybody.
So, I'll start off with a question for Kemi. Obviously this project was always going to be a way of visually telling the stories and creating a textile piece, but then COVID happened and we adapted it. But do you think perhaps that somehow, because we did it during COVID, that gave it a different sort of impact?
Yes, it did. Like you watching the video, it changed everything. Even though we're supposed to do it, virtually, they call it, to see each other, but because it turned to the project we did during COVID, it changed a lot of things. For me, like I said in the video, it brings the memories of. It makes me remember how I used to celebrate Eid back home, and it also remember the bonding I have with my children then. And apart from that, it's made me connect to a lot of people that share the same belief with me, and just seeing the way people talk when she's doing it on the Zoom class and how people are happy to talk about it. To me, it changed the perspective of what we actually wanted it to do, and it makes it bigger than what I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, I think it really opened up lots of conversations. It was a different way of having a conversation, isn't it? So this is a question for Rashida. Obviously, doing the project, doing the textile, making the film, we covered a lot of the kind of challenges that we all face, you faced during COVID, like housing issues, food bank issues, homeschooling, all sorts of things. But what stands out for you as one of the kind of, or some of the biggest challenges that you faced during that time?
Wow. We all agree that COVID brought a lot of challenges into our lives, yeah. And particularly about that time, do I remind you guys that I had the baby in February, and I think the lockdown was in March. So you would pretty understand that it was really difficult for me. It was a lot of challenge, yeah. And part of it was honorable NHS. We all know that NHS has ceased to be what it used to be. A lot of health practitioners have excuses about everything is NHS. Even calling for someone to pick up the phone is NHS. So it's COVID, it's COVID. Yeah, pardon me for that. It's COVID. So it was pretty difficult. If I had not had a baby in this country before, I would have a different perspective of what healthcare was. And during that time, I practically say I become the doctor, I become the nurse, become everything for my baby. There was no help coming whatsoever. In fact, about 2 weeks old baby, having kind of difficult, it was difficult reaching out to the health visitors. It was really difficult. And I had 2 other children, so I was going nuts. And about that time, I really understood what baby blues was. But I think I had it more really at that time. So it was really crazy, it was a lot of challenges. And I had, because of that, I had challenges myself, yeah, because just have to give it, postpartum, difficulties. So there was no help whatsoever, and I can't even reach out to friends. Everyone was afraid, so it was a lot for me. I thank God I escaped through. And another one I could talk about was it brought a lot of anxiety for me, a lot of anxiety. When I go for shopping, I have to go with my children. When we come back from the door, I strip them. Let's go into the bathroom, we have to bath again. If I have to go shopping 2-3 times a day, we bath that same day, that same times a day, When we go shopping, we put our shopping outside, we have to wash it with water and soap before we bring it into the house. And if any of my children, by mistake, get into the house before we do the washing, I have to start washing the house. It was that bad. It raised another level of anxiety. It was so bad. Yeah, so that is also part of the challenge. And the other one was, even getting food was crazy. We would all agree. I had the baby, I had 2 other ones. Some shops would say, when you come in shopping, come alone. When you leave alone, how do you leave the children behind? Yeah? And then when you get to the shops, you see a long queue. A very long queue. So that when you get there, sometimes you even forget what you want to buy because you spent most of the time on the queue. And it was really difficult even reaching out to some food banks were really nice, were really good, but I could say they were also facing challenges which we were facing, so there was no fault at all. But it was really hard getting support, the kind of things you would want, yeah. And another challenge I would say is about for no recourse to public funds. I understand that there was a lot of things that government had put in place, but I could say government actually forgot the group with the quote-unquote no recourse to public funds. So it was pretty much more difficult at that time, even though when lives of the no recourse to public fund families were always in challenge, but it was more challenges at that period. There's a lot, there's a lot to talk about, but let's just stop there. Yeah.
Thank you, Rashida. I mean, obviously the challenges were huge and multiple. And as you say, some of the, and I think everybody shared that, some of the lack of understanding about what was going on, like washing your shopping, so you wreck all your shopping actually. You'd like endlessly wash all your vegetables in plastic bags, and then they were rotted.
Yeah, because there was a lot of people really understand what COVID. There was a lot of misinformation flying around at the start of COVID. Yeah, so governments were not on the forefront of information given. It was mouthpiece of information, calling, text messages, a lot of things. So we got different understanding of what COVID is. Even I started running from people. Yeah, I started running from people. You can call it. A lot of people you can't even touch my baby. No, don't do that. You can't do that. So I got a lot of enemies, and I hope they forgive me. But I'm sorry, I had to protect myself and my children first. So it was totally different things. But it was much more later that we understand what COVID is. But the information was not really out there, and it caused a lot of confusion for people.
Thank you very much. So Sammi, question for you. How did COVID impact on your family and the way that you practice your faith? Because suddenly you're all told to stay at home. So what did that mean for you and your family? Because during the whole period actually.
Okay.
And then how does the project affect you and your family? What was it like?
Thank you, Teresa, for asking me the question. Basically, when the COVID started, I had my newborn baby, and because when I started maternity leave, and my manager saying I didn't do that much hour, so I'm not allowed to have my maternity money, so I'm not entitled, he's saying. So that's really upset me. Then a few days later, I had the COVID came. And I was really scared, and so obviously it's hard to put my rent on my property when I was rented. So I have to go homeless on that time when the beginning of lockdown. So it's really impact on my family in COVID. So I have to go hotel to stay another 3 weeks to get a new house. So I was in a hotel for 3 weeks with a newborn baby and my other 2 children. And that time I couldn't go outside to buy food. It's really difficult. I would start crying that time, and it's really miserable and it's mentally affecting my family and me. So finally, after 3 weeks later, I got new house, and I have to sleep on the floor with my baby because there's no furniture. Even though if I wanted to water some, I can't. So I did speak to one of the members in the Praxis. They really helped me on that time. So I managed those things, and yeah. So when you telling us that you're gonna make a project, like a Ramadan project, so I was very excited. But then when I heard from you that maybe it's not gonna be possible face to face, that makes me really sad. And when I share with my family, they say, oh, because of the COVID. If it's the COVID day, it would be nice. So I'm great that finally you decide you're going to make your online session. So thank you, Teresa, for this. And also all my other workers who came along in the online classes. So when you send the material to my house, and I share with my family and friends, and that we're going to do. That's really changed with my children's mind. They say, oh, at least there's something that we can do at home. Because that time school was closed. There's nothing, you can go out, you can go park, children in the house, like going up and down, like mad way. So when the material came, the project came, so we start planning every day that we can do some work with my family, like my children. And I'm also be quite, feeling good that there's something for my family that I'm going to do some work. So it's really nice to do the positive, in fact. Thank you. Thank you.
And maybe this is a question to everybody. In terms of your faith practice, how did this period, Ramadan?
In the faith way, we used to go in Ramadan mosques and pray. And you meet your friend and family, but in the COVID, we're not allowed to go outside, even though the mosque was closed, and you can't go to the mosque, you can't meet anyone, and it's really difficult. And you have to stay home and pray. Children sometimes they feel bored. When we tell them, oh, let's go mosque, they're excited. It was really sad on the Ramadan.
And for me, to be honest, it was a bit positive to celebrate Eid in lockdown. Because I was living with a Bangladesh lady, so it made me experience how Bangladesh people celebrate the Eid. My flatmate made different kind of Bangladeshi food, and I was really happy because if not for the lockdown, I won't have the knowledge or have experience. I would have gone to my family and friends' house. So the lockdown made me experience how they celebrate their Eid. Our husband came, we prayed together, like you saw in the thing, we prayed in the sitting room together with them. So it's a different feeling, different experience for me during the lockdown.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for me, it was another level of, because normally, Eid in this country is not as what it is back home. Back home for Eid period as a Muslim is a time of getting around together with your friends and cousins especially, people you've not seen in years, in months, It's a time of reunion. So before COVID, it wasn't actually like that here, And like what Kemi said in the video, we don't get to have bank holidays. So if you're unfortunate to be working that day, you don't get to spend the Eid day with your family. But during COVID time, it was a compulsory thing that you have to spend with your family. But minus your friends, And for Eid, I made it a point of contact that Eid period is when my children open their gifts, not Christmas time. Yeah, because I don't want to confuse their brain. So I couldn't get a gift that year, and it was quite painful. And Eid period, I ensure that it is one time that we make our traditional wear. So we couldn't get that as well. Yeah? So I'm sure it wasn't just the adult that has depression or anxiety. It also affected the children. So they were always, because I always take a day off from school if it was a school day. So they were always expecting that we go out, friends and family, we go to the park and all that. All those were not there. And my second daughter broke down because she's the type that likes going out. But it is what it is, or it was what it was. It couldn't be changed, but it was a different level of, celebration for us.
Thank you. MIrri, a question for you. Sorry, we don't have MIrri. Annabel, a question for you. So the film and some of the themes that we worked on in the quilt reflect some of the investigation we did in the Stay Home Stories project.
Absolutely, thank you, Teresa. I think the film is amazing. It's a real privilege to have seen it today and to see all the amazing work that's gone into the quilt and how much everyone seemed to enjoy taking part. And yeah, thank you for that. And I think the themes from our project come through really strongly in the film. So we did lots of interviews with people from lots of different migration backgrounds, different countries, different areas of London. And many people said that they were told to stay home, but they didn't necessarily feel safe at home. Their home wasn't always a long-term or secure place, and that was what people were talking about in the film as well. And some people were waiting much longer for decisions if they were seeking asylum or waiting longer on their claim. And the organisations that people would go to for support, they were struggling themselves, so they had to shift their work online, and they were still offering help to people, but it wasn't the same as being there in person and being able to drop in or get help face to face. So I think there were so many difficulties that people were struggling with, and on top of that, like homeschooling, being stuck at home, as well as all of those specific problems. So I think, it's really kind of described really eloquently in the film. So,
Thank you. Yeah, there are obviously lots and lots of overlaps and connections between what we were covering and what Stay Home Stories is covering. Alison, particularly you're going to talk a little bit, hopefully, about the research that's been happening around faith practice during COVID.
No, absolutely. And just to echo Annabel, the quilt is so beautiful, and it's, again, such a wonderful quilt and so much to see in it. And I think the film also, just to be able to hear more about the experiences, your experiences in making the quilt, but also your experiences of lockdown, and real privilege to have heard that. And also, I think for the film to be focusing in on specific parts of the quilt and to see it in more detail, because there's so much to see, so much that's there.
Yeah, it's quite busy.
Yeah, which is wonderful. And in terms of our project, we're also talking to lots of people from different faith communities. We're also talking to faith leaders as well, and really thinking about that impact of lockdown and restrictions when faith and worship had to move home. And obviously a lot of people's faith and practices around faith take place in the home anyway, and already do. But when it wasn't possible to gather for worship, when it wasn't possible to gather together with people in the same faith community, what impact did that have? And talking to people, again, living in a range of different situations, different types of housing, different households, and so on. And I think that came through so clearly in both the quilt and the film, the impact of where people were living and who people were living with in terms of really the challenges that people were facing, but also what helped to sustain people in really difficult times. And one thing we're also really interested in is the real significance of faith in sustaining people at difficult times, and at home, as well as when it's possible to gather again in person. And another thing, just very briefly, just wonderful to see, so many of your children present in the quilt as well, and being involved in creating it, and thinking about faith across different generations. And obviously the home has been such a key part of, raising children in faith. And again, thinking about how that greater time at home, despite all of those challenges, just how important, that cross-generational, across parents and children, in terms of raising people in faith as well, has been. So that came through really strongly.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, actually, it wasn't intended for the children, weirdly, but then it was a flexible project and adapted all the time. And I think once we sent out the packs and the children, they were all over them and wanted to join in. So that's what happens. It's perfect. Thank you, Alison. Ethne, would you like to say something about the postcard?
and you really shared with us. So it was a real pleasure for Mitch and I to edit it from our film. So thank you. Just to say that this postcard has on it details of where the film will be shown online from the middle of next week. So we'll make sure everyone's happy and everything, and then it goes online in the middle of next week, along with two podcasts. The one on faith is already on the website, but the one on migration will be on next week, in the middle of next week as well. So do take these away and watch the film again and listen to the podcasts, and do stay in touch with us. Thank you.
Okay, I've got one more question, and then we'll throw it open to you to ask the questions. This is to the participants, really. Did you think that the making of the film gave you another sort of level, another platform to make your voices heard? Because we've done it with the textile, but then we made a film as well. So did you feel that was like another way to get your voice heard?
It does. Yes, it did. We just doing it before, not thinking that it was going to come out as a film. I remember when we met in the park in the green, and my other two children came and saw themselves in the thing. And now they are adults now, they saw themselves as children in the film. So in the picture, yes. So bringing it as a film, for me, when I showed them the film, when Teresa sent the film to me for me to watch, when I showed them, they were just crying, just see that people who actually know what the faith is. I have my daughter, one of my daughters, she's like, I call her Islamia, because she covers herself. She was so happy that this film is going to tell people that Muslims are not just what people think outside, to show that there's beauty in Islam, and that we can make friends in Islam. The different way people celebrate, but still it's the same thing. So at least the film will let people know that Islam is unique. It's something else. It's not just what people think, because I know the perspective people have about Islam. So the film will bring out that to show that Islam is actually beautiful.
For me, I would say, of course, a yes. And for any time, any day, I'm always delighted to talk about Islam, because Islam itself means peace. And because a lot of people have different perspectives of what Islam is. And I would say that however someone is practicing Islam boils down on that person's personality, not Islam. Because for Islam is peace. And it's just 5 doctrines that no matter how or where you are, that we believe in. When you believe in God, you know that it's 5 times prayers. Charity is of Islam. Yeah, you have to be a brother or a sister to the next person. Yeah? And your zakats, paying back. Because Islam, when you have a particular amount, yeah, as a prophet, there's a certain, I don't know, I think in Christianity they call it tithes, yeah. There's a certain amount you have to give back to the next privilege, All those things are the teachings of Islam, which I know, which I don't, my other people know. So whatever perspective other people have about Islam in a radical mode, it depends on that person. So I'm always delighted to talk about Islam, what I know about Islam. The positive, it's always positive, there's no negative about Islam. So I'm always ready to talk about it. And of course, that means my voice is going to be heard. Yeah? I'm relating what Islam has meant to me, and I'm passing it on to my children, which is the next generation, which I hope they will also pass to the oncoming generation. So it's always a pleasure for me to do that.
Thank you. And this is, sorry, I did say I don't have questions, but I haven't. To Alison and MIrri, do you think there's a way that we can use people's experiences, people's lived experience, to affect government policy, really? So that your findings and actually put to that purpose?
Thank you, Teresa. I think it's really important that this kind of project and people's voices and experiences are heard at government level, and one way we can do that is through working with organisations like Praxis, and I think that decision makers should be working more with these kind of organisations who are helping people and making when those decisions are made, we need to take their experiences more into account because everyone had different experiences of lockdown, and it was often assumed that home was a safe place for people, but it's not always. So I think that's where organisations can amplify those experiences more. I think so.
Thank you.
And part of what we're doing as a project is writing reports, and we're working on a report focused on our London-based research at the moment, and again very much drawing out the key findings but also drawing out key recommendations and wanting that to reach people in local government and in national government, and to really want to affect change. And really for us, I think, sort of just widely to learn the lessons of COVID and really what, the very different challenges that so many people have faced, what needs to change to improve people's lives and, beyond this crisis. So that's very much a sense of what we're wanting to do. And in terms of faith particularly, we're wanting to sort of draw lessons learned around how people of faith move to then really worshipping at home and so on, and how different faiths can share experiences and learn together in terms of thinking about how best to support people, and indeed also how to support faith leaders themselves in these sort of situations.
Great, thank you, Nancy. So, to throw it open, are there any questions from the floor? From the panel? Or any more experiences from some of the people who participated in the project?
Hi. So firstly, I'd like to thank you guys. That was just really, really beautiful to be a part of, and for just sharing so that, honestly and creatively. I wanted to ask the question about how, despite being in such a difficult position, where, we were all in it, but everyone had their own unique experiences of COVID, and particularly Ramadan during the COVID lockdown period. How the process of creatively engaging and recording what you were doing or what mattered to you, how the mindful practice of art actually sort of helped you positively.
I would say what makes us human actually is being resilient. Yeah. So as individual, no matter the situation we find ourselves in, you don't want to be deep in it. Yeah. We always look for a way. No matter how stressful we are, especially women, we are multitasker. We multitask. So I think that is the kind of spirit that came in during the COVID time. That even though there was a lot of challenges, there was a lot of struggling, but we still have to be resilient in forging ahead. We can't stay still. Yeah.
Can I add a tiny bit to that? One of the things that I found quite refreshing is how, in the work that I do working with Muslim women, very often I'm trying to push this notion of let's actually get back to who we are, as opposed to I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a this, I'm a that. But I think that in the time of COVID and when this was conceived, when it was conceived, it was probably about trying to get women to sort of re-identify with themselves. But then the story of COVID happened, and what I find quite refreshing is that actually the children were integrated into the story because that's just what the story was, and so it very organically evolved into what it wanted to be, and children were part of that, and children are part of our community. It's just that we perhaps don't give them enough credit for who they are because they're children, but they are still citizens. But it's really very, very beautiful and very refreshing. And one of the things that really struck me in the video was, I'm talking a lot, I'm really sorry. One of the things that really struck me in the video was you were saying that, this has been we were broken and it was really difficult. And then you said that, but the tapestry, the quilt is so colourful. And it just shows that despite how hard life is, we still have so much vibrancy and so much soul and spirit and collaboration that can be very, very energizing and you know, testimony to resilience in life, really. So great. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
To be honest, as I said before, having children as part of it wasn't part of the plan, but then that was the reality, that was what we were faced with. So they were completely woven into the tapestry because they were there and you know, they wanted to use the material. So yeah, it was a plus in the end. The whole way that the project happened was a surprise and a beneficial thing because it wasn't meant to be like that at all.
And very often it's the joy of this kind of stuff, how it naturally evolves,
Yeah.
what comes out from adversity.
Yeah, it was a very process.
I would like to say that, you know, we come to a group in this Praxis conference, and in that group they teach us to be ourselves, not more. To have time for our own self. You can see most times the children are in a crèche, and we, the mother, we have time for our own self. We do things for ourselves, not just thinking about being a mom or being going back home to do. So we have that 2 hours to do things for our own self, to refresh our own, to calm us down, and to let us be the woman we are, not mother or wife that we are. So that has really helped us. Imagine this project we did during Ramadan. That's very, very stressful. You know, imagine fasting. But doing that project during Ramadan give us time to at least sit down, not just sleeping on the bed, you know. Sit down with your family, teach them this is how Islam is being done, this is how it is, this is what it is, that you can practice it. So to me, I think it's not just showing me to be a mother. For me, it's like myself sitting down to reflect on how I think, what I think about myself and my faith.
Can I also add that it's a kind of reflection, even during Ramadan, yeah? You reflect back into what the faith actually means, you know, getting a deeper understanding and sharing it. So which is, of course, the thing of pleasure in a time.
Sorry, do you have anything to say? Because you've got your whole family involved,
Yeah,
big time.
Yes, my son, my husband, myself. We obviously discussed how we going to do the project, and then obviously, first of all, thank you to you because you gave us some idea. Because from the beginning, I was thinking, oh my God, am I going to finish or not? How am I going to do it? But then obviously, we finished it, and yeah, we enjoyed it. And I'm gonna thank you to the university who make our film. You know, I didn't think about that. That's going to be go so far, but and also today, and now you organized. Thank you so much. Yes.
Do we have any more questions from the floor?
Very simple. Thank you so much. Will there be another next Eid? Is there a plan for another useful piece of art based on the post-pandemic coming out of shelves?
Well, there's a question. Is there a plan for another post-pandemic piece of art? I'll put that to the floor. Maybe I'll give you time to think about that one. Hopefully, yes. Yeah, we'd love to do some more.
Well, this went so well. Hopefully people is coming up with some new ideas to make it even more beautiful.
Well, thank you. Anything else you'd like to say? Well, my thanks to the panel. We've had a really lively discussion, so thank you very much. And once again, thank you for the film. It speaks for itself, doesn't it? And thank you to all the participants in the film. It's turned out incredibly well. So thank you.
Hello everyone. sincere appreciation to you all for joining our invitation. Our Eid project happened at a time we needed to be reminded about reintegrating back into our community as we were deprived of a face-to-face celebration of Eid. Everybody experienced COVID differently, but I've been permitted to share my own story quickly because I wasn't able to attend the video when they were recording. Well, I'm actually part of it because my picture is there as well with my kids. I actually was pregnant before COVID, and I was still pregnant when COVID started. So I had my baby during the heat of the COVID. And it wasn't easy at all. You know, the visits to antenatal, my clinic was moved to another place entirely, and you know, to travel wasn't easy. We needed to use face masks, and I was breathless, and I had so many issues during then. And you know, when you get there, you can't take any partner with you. You can't take anyone. You couldn't take anyone along. It was not easy. So on the day of giving birth was actually another story entirely. I went alone. And I had to go through to do the test, and I was actually having pain, and it was so terrible because I couldn't imagine someone in pain and still had to go through the test of going the swab and everything. It was a terrible one. Another one I want to add is actually the fact that I have a child with special needs. Yeah, and during the heat of the pandemic, my child couldn't stay at home. My child needed to go to school because I couldn't homeschooling. So whenever he comes back from school, I'll have to, just like what Rashida said, I had a pink bag by the door. I have to strip him there. It was a struggle because it's not his normal routine. And I had to strip him, take off his shoes and everything while I was still pregnant then. So it wasn't actually a very good experience at all, but I'm glad with this our Eid project, we were able to, be reminded of our togetherness, and we were able to, we all went through a lot of, we all had a lot of experiences during the COVID, and I'm glad that we were able to gather this together. Okay, I hope you actually enjoy the magic we created. It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And to my other colleagues, pardon me. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. And this event actually ends now, but we still have some food and merriment, so you can actually help yourself. Food is actually served behind you. Thank you so much. We have in our midst a beautiful voice. His name is Carlton, so he's going to join us now to give us a closing song.
Blessed God. Good afternoon, my people. I am so glad I was invited to this program, And I am so full joy in the thing, and I don't say enjoy because I don't really want to joy to him. So I don't say enjoy, I say full joy, This program is really beautiful, and I love where it's going, And I see some of the beautiful people that I've never seen for some time, So it's another part of the sweetness. And I have a few songs that depicts the moment, the beautiful moment, and the resilience of the ladies and all these things. The one that I'm going to start with in representation of this beautiful work. Did I tell you my name? I forget to remember. Good afternoon, my name is Carlton Thompson, and most people call me the walking jukebox. And I was invited here to do a few songs. And the first one I'm going to start with is, if I could paint a picture and show the world the way true love should really be, I'd use the brightest colors to create that perfect harmony. It would be the reality, the reflection of how I feel in my heart, and you would know that it was love right from the very start. And tell me, what is the color of love? And what do you see? Is it warm? Is it tender? When you think of me, I see the color of love as a picture-perfect painting of a love forever true. The colors of the rainbow turns gray whenever you are far away. It changes like the seasons, and you're the reason it happens that way. Can't you see? With all of love's emotions, the reflection of how I feel deep inside. Now you must hold on to the love and push away your pride. And tell me, what is the color of love? And what do you see? Is it warm? Is it tender? When you think of me, I see the color of love as a picture-perfect painting of a love forever true. Thank you. Now this one is a very special one. This one is for all the ladies, the beautiful ladies. You know, I always sing this song to show some appreciation of to the ladies, because it's just my personal opinion that if the world was run by ladies, it would be a better place, more peaceful and all these lovely things. Because women are so special. They are the creation of the Most High that is put place on this planet to take his life form forward. And it's because they are so being mistreated why things is going so negative in the world. That is my personal opinion. This one says, she faced the hardest times you could imagine, and many times her eyes fought back the tears. And when her youthful world was about her falling, each time her slipped the shoulder from the weight of all her fears, and the sorrow no one hears still rings in midnight sighs in her ears. Let her cry, for she's a lady. Let her dream, for she's a child. Let the rain fall down hold her for a time, and if allowed just one possession, I will take her from the garden to be mine. Be careful how you touch her, or she'll awake and sleep's the only freedom that she knows. And when you look into her eyes, you won't believe the way she's always paying for debts she never hold, and the silent Winston blows that only she can hear, and so she goes. Let her cry, for she's a lady. Let her dream, for she's a child. Let the rain fall down upon her. She's a sweet and gentle flower growing wild.